On today's episode of Northport Stories, we're joined by Phillip and Michele Moore from Images of Therapy. Their journey is one rooted in creativity, resilience, and purpose. Their passion for using art as a form of healing really shines through. We've had a meaningful conversation about their work, their story, and the difference they're making in our community. Here's Phillip and Michele. Hi, Phil. Hi, Michele. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Jane. We are so happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Of course. So let's talk a little bit about Images of Therapy.
Well, Images of Therapy is something that we dubbed way back when, as far as our imagery goes, when we started doing paintings. So after taking all these classes at the Northport Art Center, we needed to call it something that we would actually be able to produce artwork to share with the community. It's evolved now to where we're actually painting the community in order to be able to share with the community as well. I think that imagery is therapeutic to all of us. I think that anything that gives us a sense of feeling or emotion by looking at it, whether it's a split second or sitting and pondering for a couple of minutes, the images that I produced for the particular project 4 years ago was imagery from a lot of deployments that I had overseas. So that was something that helped out with that. But quite realistically, everything around us gives us emotion just by looking at it, and I think that's something that we can easily share. And it's definitely therapeutic to produce that imagery as well as look at it, I think.
So you were deployed. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And what service were you in?
The U.S. Army, and I was with the 1st Cavalry Division.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you were in the Army, and you created these images.
Yeah. So
Well, he took pictures of everyday life. So there were moments that were captured just a minute, maybe out of the gate and stuff. And he had a whole hard drive of these things. So what we're talking about is the renderings that Phillip did was a 24-piece soft pastel series called Art of War, where he rendered photos that he took while he was deployed. So we want to kind of bridge where Images of Therapy comes from. So as represented to a reception, we couldn't just say Bone Boutique presents Art of War. So Images of Therapy is something that Phillip came up with because that's how he felt. He took art class and he wanted to paint every day. So that's what it developed into. And there is where he almost relived everything through that time that he was painting. So it became very therapeutic to him.
it was, and I've done a lot of interviews, obviously, when it comes to mental awareness and mental therapy, getting out after so many different things. I think painting these paintings was more therapeutic at the time than just answering a Q&A about it. I was quite literally smelling gunpowder and hearing certain things, and kind of flushes it out onto the paper to where I don't necessarily have to dwell on it anymore. And so every time that I actually look at these images that I produced, it's a good feeling now. It's not such a stressful feeling.
So the practice was just as he was finding something to immerse himself in daily. It wasn't produced to ultimately show the world that we did. And so he wanted to share that with everyone. So that's when we decided to do a reception. We didn't have any money to frame it. And we decided to put a calendar together of 12 of the 18 photos or the 18 paintings showing his colorblindness. So that is the major fact here. So Phillip has protanopia and tritanopia.
That's right.
We'll have him explain because that's why I'm here. I am here to help you.
And quite realistically, when people ask about my military service, it didn't bar me from entering, but quite literally I had to get a waiver for it. And they said, because there are filters on flashlights now, you can see certain differences in color. And that's on a map. So that's what was the importance of. But tritanopia is, it's ultra sensitivity to blue light. So lucky for us, our road signs just now changed from green to blue here in Northport.
And he is loving it, thank you, because he says you changed it just for him, and I believe him.
Wow.
So ultra sensitive to blue. So basically all my greens, grays, and blues are all mixed together. I can't see the difference. However, blue is something that I can see all the time from 10 miles away. Protanopia is all the warm colors are blended together where I can't tell the difference between an orange, a pink, a yellow. So something that happens, though, if I put two colors together that are highly contrasting to one another, then I can see the difference. And sometimes it takes a while. But color vibration is something else that I get. If there's two particular colors that are right next to each other, anything 6 inches away or more, it physically shakes, it physically vibrates. So there's certain, drawbacks to that. And it can be quite distracting when I'm driving and I see blue. I just want to follow it. But to put it in perspective, quite literally, though, if you can imagine having a really bad headache and laying down on the couch and putting a nice cold rag on your head, it's very soothing. It feels really good. That's what my eyes feel like when I look at that blue, a very ultramarine blue. It's very soothing on the inside. It's something that just kind of is calming to the rest of my body as well. So it's hard to look away sometimes.
How fascinating.
It was and maddening at the same time. If you can imagine living with someone who quite literally will argue the
So
color.
when you were dating, did you just wear that color all the time?
No, I really had no idea because you'll forget because it's not your life, and
That's right.
so I had really no idea that he would start asking me what color is this, what color is that when he was Pam, and so I got tired of answering, and I said it doesn't matter, just paint what you see. And this is what he produced was incredible. And again, as he started to produce them, I was like, how many do you have? And how many is that? And how many is that? And by the time he got to about 18, of course, I was sitting on the board of directors with the Northport Art Center. We asked for a separate reception at the time. And again, all that costs money. So sponsorships with a calendar. So with this calendar, we put out to almost help him with the PTSD. He did contact and reach out to everyone. Fox News, Stubby's office. Please continue telling
My old high school, people back in Illinois, people that made a difference in my life, growing up, I wanted to kind of let them in on it. And quite literally, again, it wasn't meant to be this grandiose presentation. I mean, it just wasn't. It was just something to try to occupy my mind during the day.
So it became bigger than us, and we were able to raise over $20,000 to benefit the Northport Art Center's veteran art scholarship, that they continue to raise money and provide the veterans in the area with free art classes, which includes all the material in order to teach them ways to cope. Art is therapeutic. It always has been. It's always been very healing. So we are here to promote that because it's done that for us.
Yeah, and I consider myself kind of a big tough guy, and I love trudging through the woods and want to go out and shoot guns or do this and that, but quite literally, you don't have to be an artist to start there. You don't have to. I mean, it all starts somewhere for everybody, and I've heard 1,000 times, well, I can't even draw a stick figure, and it's because they just didn't practice enough.
Well, and if you visit the Moore Museum of Art and Natural History, you'll find that we do have a stick figure painting by Rich Moreau.
That's right.
Local artist, Northport Art Center. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, okay, you were saying this is a watercolor series, and I've noticed...
No, it's a soft pastel series.
Soft pastel. I'm sorry.
Ma'am, we have switched teams.
Okay, I am not an artist. Thank you.
No,
Thank you
that's
for the
quite all
clarification.
right. That's quite all right.
So I've noticed before that you paint with a black light. When you did this series of Art of War, did you also paint with the black light? How does the black light help?
I didn't. So when I painted with Art of War, Michele had to provide me with a special set of ultraviolet, very...
high pigmented,
That's
soft
right,
pastels.
soft
Goodness, there's so many brands out there. But yes, they do come in fluorescence as well. So I ran into fluorescent Diane Townsend soft pastels, and that really kicked it off for him to be able to do that. The black light started to come in afterwards.
Yeah,
it came into the watercolor.
So the black light, it really, especially with the ultraviolet watercolors now, I mean, it really sets apart the different colors to where I don't have to stress so hard.
So we should announce we made the switch. So we did start our artistic journey with the soft pastels from a class that was offered here in the evenings at the Northport Art Center. We have since maybe 2 years ago switched to watercolor. I did a watercolor project for a commission, and I fell in love with it as it's clean and portable. In which switching to watercolor, he then switched to watercolor. I was able to find ultraviolet reactive paints for him as well. And one day told him, why don't you just leave the black light on? So he would paint and then turn the black light on and see what was reactive, and versus, why don't you just paint that way? Because it made his eyes feel better, especially after a whole day out in the world. Okay, so it calms his mind, it calms his eyes, it relaxes him, and you make really interesting, highly ultraviolet reactive paintings that everyone really enjoys. And so we find that it's very common, the color blindness.
And did you do research to learn about the high pigments, or you just thought, hey, I see contrast better, so?
Well, I had to learn about the particular types of color blindness in order to figure it out. It's saying, with this color, that color, opposite colors of the color wheel, how they integrate together.
So he was using flashlights and ultraviolet light to tell the difference in colors when I'm not around, or I'm too busy to tell him what color that is, if you feel me. Mm-hmm. So again, it's come from my frustrations of, and I'll be very open with you. I don't want to tell you what color that is. Stop bothering me. Figure it out. Seriously. And just leave the darn light on so I don't have to tell you what color that is. So it's brilliant in my own frustrations that has occurred. And so we just leave it on. So it's very interesting. And I do seek ultraviolet reactive paints for him to work with. I think it's incredibly important to work with all mediums, no matter what your body of work is. And I do try to find that for him.
And you do have a framed picture from that series somewhere special.
Well, Philip,
That's right.
I think she is asking you about your reception here.
So the show that we had for Art of War back in November 21, I called Greg Stubbe's office, our congressman here in Florida 17 District. The Arts Center had a letter from him that said, if there's anything you need from me, let me know. So they had shared that letter with me, so I reached out to him and asked if he would come to this particular show. He noticed one of the paintings specifically that I had done, and it was just a city overview, and it was from an observation post. And turned to find out that we served in the same combat zone at the same time. We just didn't know each other back then. So during the showing of Art of War later that night, he called me and asked for a commissioned painting that was redone of that particular one. It's called Sunrise on the City. And so without even asking how big, I said, yes, sir, I'd be happy to. And he asked for one that was 3 feet wide.
Oh my gosh.
The original series are 9 by 12.
That's right. So sanded pastel, 36 inches by 24, is now framed and hanging in his office on Capitol Hill in D.C. Yeah.
The great part of that story actually is that painting was in a locker waiting to be hung, and Philip got a call where he was being presented the Dave Cooksey Pest of the Year Award in Washington the same month. And what they didn't know is that we had sent a painting to Washington. So we were actually able to be flown to Washington to receive this award and see the painting and go onto the hill into the Rayburn Horseshoe building right next to it. And Jill Luke was in Washington for legislative days, and we were able to get her to the ceremony where Philip received his award, and then we were able to go back for a second time into the building and see Stu, because our first visit we weren't able to see him. So that was covered by the newspaper here, and it's on our website as well. It was quite an honor. Philip has 2 flags that have flown over the Capitol in his honor, and those are on display at the Moore Museum. So we're very grateful that someone from Northport, because we're so Northport proud, was able to be there to watch Philip receive this award as well.
Yeah, I've got a very special relationship with Jill Luke. Her and I go back. She's my sweet tea. We call each other sweet tea.
Back in 2021, I think Philip and I were showing at Welland Park's Welcome Center, and she needed some help with the wildlife issue that she was having, and Philip wrote his phone number on the back of a piece of paper he found. Well, on the other side of the paper, it said sweet tea. It was the sweet tea sign. So that's what started that one. So it's really special. And then she received the key to the city. I recently also painted her. You can find that on Facebook.
Speaking of food items, I also heard a delicacy in your house is a mashed potato sandwich.
Yes. Yeah. A super carb sandwich. Yeah. There was a time that I was in the military and I had to make finances stretched. I had a hard time as far as life back home, kind of intermingling with life in Texas. And so for probably a month and a half straight, it was, dry box spuds and a loaf of bread, and I made it work.
He still enjoys that cuisine today. Very openly.
Not so frequently nowadays, though.
So how long have you been in Northport? What brought you to Northport?
Well, I came here in 2014. And so what really brought me here was, first thing was my dad lived down here, and I'd spend so much time without getting to know who he was through my life and this and that. So I thought it'd be a good jump off point to come down and see him. I knew that I wanted to work with wildlife in any sort of capacity, but I was very much missing the adrenaline from combat, just the nervousness of going outside the wire every day. And it was just a kind of a thing that I was chasing after. I'm not an adrenaline junkie, but because there are no animals in Illinois that can kill me or pose a dangerous threat, I decided to move down here. And I had glorified dreams of just jumping on alligators and wrestling giant Burmese pythons and this and that. And turned to find out that, you have to do a lot of training, a lot of hours, a lot of this and that. But Michele actually led me into the rehabilitation center in Venice for animals. And that's where I started volunteering.
His dad was a client at the bank. I worked for the bank for about 10 years. I was a banker, believe that. And before that, I was a DJ and so on. So it's very weird that I ended up at a bank. However, I opened up an account for Phillip. He wanted to go fishing and talk about wildlife. And I got him connected with the Venice Wildlife Center, which was amazing. So we started off as fishing buddies. We caught a lot of shark.
Have you been able to wrestle an alligator?
I haven't wrestled one. I did dive into somebody's pond and grab it and wrestle it but I know that to come down here and do that, it takes a lot of respect for these animals. It's a very special thing. I've learned that Florida is really, really a special place when it comes to the ecosystem and the animals and how we all kind of just are scraping by to get a piece of land to call home. So
I've lived in Florida my whole life. I've never lived more north than Northport, and I don't really want to go further north than Northport. To be very honest with you, I came from Miami in 2005. I was recruited by PGT. I was in the window industry for almost 17 years, and that's how I got here. So I've been here 21 years this October in the same house. I love it. I continue to talk about the wide open spaces and trees.
It's home.
It is. It's so beautiful. And it's the people that really make this city what it is.
Yeah.
I've never seen so much, love for each other in a city. We don't have that down south. That's become way too populated and too popular. And then it was 20 years ago that I left. So imagine that. This has grown tremendously, but still not to that caliber.
We're glad that you're here.
We're not going anywhere. We're staying.
Going back to images of therapy, do you have any advice? If there's any veterans listening that need an outlet to get some of that out?
Yeah, I mean...
Or how to get plugged into the art scene?
Yeah, we have programming right now.
We do?
The Northport Paint Posse. We're
That's
here to
right.
help our veterans.
Yeah, yes. There's actually a couple of veterans that go. So every Sunday, we all get together and we have a different park that we go to, and then we kind of fan out, and everybody feels like a big group.
About 2 years ago, when I switched over again to the watercolor, it made it a lot easier to go out and paint. So hundreds of years ago, artists did not have cameras, and so they went out and did studies in watercolor or sketch or charcoal, whatever they had, to take their studies of light and shadow into the studios to produce these beautiful works that you see today in museums across the world. And so that beautiful light-chasing experience began at St. Sava Church on Biscayne and Price. And I sat out there at 7 o'clock in the morning with a little paint set, with a little watercolor set, and painted. And I shared that photo, and between 2 hours, it was sold. Much more because it connected with the person who bought it, but it was the soul that went into going out there and painting it in life with no photo. So I did research, and this is what plein air painting is to paint outside. It's a very old tradition. So with that, my friends were asking where I was going to paint and if I was going to continue to paint. So what turned into 1 to 4 people painting has turned into an active group of 20 or more artists and 150 members on Facebook. You can find us in Northport Paint Posse, where we do paint beautiful Northport, and it's almost 30 parks that we have here. Thank you, Parks and Rec, and other places of interest. During the cooler months, during the hotter months, we've already tried painting outdoors that did not work. We tried painting at other establishments that would graciously accept us every Sunday at 9. But we've decided that our refuge is at the Starbucks on Sumter and Price right here, where if we are not coming in, they are wondering where we are. So if we get rained out or for any reason have to come indoors, that's where we head. But the summer sessions start in June, and that's where we'll be until October, every Sunday at 9 a.m.
When you say we, Phillip, you come paint every Sunday as well?
Yeah. So Phillip comes. We have a handful of veterans that come. What we also have about 8 teachers, which it just is an amazing thing. We have art teachers and English teachers and science teachers that have joined us from other schools around the area. And I'm sure a lot of people join us from home and we just don't know. But we provide a lot of reference material and stuff and rich history about the area. I have the Northport book. And we just want to connect everyone with the city that they love so much. They do. They love it so much. And every year now we'll have a show. Our first show was September. Lola Blue donated space. We also had donations and sponsors for different businesses here in the area.
I actually bought one of Phillip's painting at that show, so it's above my piano now. There's like a purple like waterfall scene.
Beautiful. Anyone
Thank
listening,
you.
we are looking for a venue. We have grown again. Lola Blue, thank you so much. That was already too small for the 6 artists that we represented. And we're looking for, more artists, obviously, to answer the call to artists on July 25th. But we're looking for a venue to fit us here in Northport. So I'll probably kick it with the Parks and Rec. I'd love to see it at the Morgan. I think it belongs here.
How can the veterans get a hold of the Art Center? Are they still putting out as far as advertisements or
As
Facebook?
I mentioned,
or?
they are still continuing with the Veterans Art Scholarship. They just had a group get together at the gallery. I believe that the gallery here, right here in City Hall, has provided them with space to continue that initiative. It's wonderful. We share it on our pages to make sure that it is available there for our veterans. Absolutely, they have.
I think veterans, that we also all got to understand, despite whatever traumas or this they've been through, don't stop trying to find an outlet, whether it's anything specific. You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be a writer. I try to tell, kids about this if they don't feel like they're actually expressive or artistic in any way, but quite literally, don't give up trying to find some sort of outlet, even if it's for 5 minutes. I've met a couple of veterans that were really into some G.I. Joe stuff, and they were very derogatory about living on a golf course and saying that these other guys just won't get it. And, that doesn't mean to give up. I mean, quite literally. So.
And if if you want to join us and maybe you don't have material or you have questions about joining the group, we're here. So you can email Phillip, two L's on Phillip, at phillip@boneboutique.biz. You can email me, Michelle, 1L on that one. So isn't that funny? Michelle with 1L at boneboutique.biz. You can find us just boneboutique.biz on the website. We will be more than happy to help facilitate a group, to help facilitate you guys coming out with us on Sundays. We're here to really share what we've gotten out of it. That's why we're so passionate about it.
It works.
It works. It helps me with my grief, and it helps Phillip with his PTSD. It helps everyone.
So while we are here, is there anything else you would like to say to the collective about Images of Therapy, what you've been through?
I appreciate everybody in Northport having patience with each other. We all, the people that live here, we know that when it's not season and the traffic's a little lighter, we don't have to be in such a hurry everywhere to cut each other off, or quite literally, when people are here, let's just have more patience with each other.
Oh my God,
just
slow
more
down
patience with each other.
Give yourself some you time, for goodness sakes. And I think that because you live in the 104 square miles of Northport, you are all members of the Northport Paint Posse, and you should all owe the Northport Paint Posse 15 minutes of creative time a day, whether it be writing poetry, cooking, painting, drawing, anything creative. So that way you are a part of this collective, all of you. are part of this collective, each and every one. Can you imagine if we all show up at the park at once? Oh my God. Okay. I'm just saying, I believe that, because take time for yourselves. I think that is the message here. Just a minute. Go in a closet, to have a little nightlight, read something, do something, to disconnect. 15 minutes, put it on a timer. And that's definitely what I would like to share, and to, come and join us. We also believe in this so much that we make it possible for you to come and see the Moore Museum and connect with us every third Saturday of the month. We pop up in our driveway. We want to share our artwork. We want to share our sustainable artwork, but we want to share the Moore Museum. We want to share images of therapy with you. We have Art of War on display. We've got an entire wall of heroes dedicated to our nation's military. We have over 100 skulls in our collection, over 30 fully articulated specimens, from dragons to bugs and fossils from the area, and wet specimens to share, to ignite and inspire you all, because we believe in our community so much. So every third Saturday of the month, we love it so much, we expanded to a second location, and we founded the Northport Art Crawl. I know that in this beautiful 104 square miles of this city are amazing, talented artists who are ready to sever the ties of the gallery elite and to meet and shake the hands of the community and share their beautiful art. Contact me, find me, and we are going to do something amazing in this city.
And veterans out there, if you feel like you're by yourselves, you got a battle buddy. I'll be your battle buddy.
Thank you.
We are so grateful for this, for the support of the city, because we couldn't be Images of Therapy, Bone Boutique, and Northport Paint Posse, and the Northport Art Crawl without Northport. It's all in the name.
So I like to typically end my show with the Northport Time Machine. If you can go to the past or the future in Northport, what year would you go to and why?
I would like to go to the early years of discovery of Northport, where it was the Warm Mineral Springs area. Was in every newspaper there was that discovery of the richness that came from the people of the past, the Aboriginals of this area, the indigenous people, where they set up ground, where their wells were, where did they live in this area, and where did they thrive? I would love to be here.
Yeah, I think I would probably like to see the beginning development of the city.
What was that in the?
We talking beginning development, like general development?
Nothing here.
Okay.
Oh, no,
Like nothing
I'm
here.
talking about nothing here. Where
absolutely.
that hole, where they lived by that hole. Like that. Not, that's the 60s or 40s. Yeah, you don't.
No. I'm talking about nothing
1800s
here.
then, right? Yeah.
Love it.
Like something like that.
Yeah.
Where they wore loincloths. That's one. Yeah, loincloths. Right. They were eating oysters from the El Jobin, or like that like that. Yeah,
Love it.
That picking berries. That's yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Phillip. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being
Thank you
here
for the
today.
opportunity.
We are honored to be here, Jane. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for having us.
Thank you, Phillip and Michelle, for sharing your story and for the work you're doing to make a difference through art. It's conversations like these that remind us how important it is to support one another and find healthy ways to grow and heal. Until next time.